It's kind of weird, Nation. This is a critical moment. Um, it really is. We're doing this 24 hours of reviewing right now, and if you're viewing this in the future, then the 24 hours of reviewing was a really, really awesome idea that made me very exhausted. But I wanted to talk to you guys about the best and worst of 2013 so far. And, there has been a lot of highlights and there's been several lowlights thus far of this year, whether it's been in the news or whether it has been album-wise. And I would love to keep this principally to just albums if I could. However, on the negative side, with the death of Jeff Hanneman and the supposed picketing by the Westboro Baptist Church that never happened, I mean, that was a real black stain on everything. And then, of course, everything that surrounded Tim from As I Lay Dying. And there's also a member of Obituary that got busted for having a meth lab. And this all happened like within the span of a week or a week and a half. I mean, it was probably one of the worst weeks of metal, period. And whenever you also go along with the news, I mean, there was the news that we heard about Bill Ward not being on the new Sabbath record, and there was a lot of negative things that seemed to happen in the news. But weirdly enough, we've been blessed with a lot of fantastic albums. The gods of metal have certainly shined upon us. And, excuse me, and I definitely wanted to talk about a couple of the best that we have seen so far this year. Firstly, we have to definitely talk about Steven Wilson, the progressive mastermind behind Porcupine Tree, No Man, The Incredible Expanding Mindfuck, Blackfield, and just like a bajillion other things. And he's also worked with Opeth. The Raven That Refused to Sing in Other Stories, just a fantastic, fantastic release that was earlier on this year, one of the early stages of the first quarter, if you really want to call it that. Perfect atmosphere, just one of those things that really strikes you immediately, and its beauty just is lacing your mind like some sort of subtle LSD. It's a very, very nice feeling, and it's one that's very easy to replicate. It's very easy to turn this record back on and listen to it again and again and again. It gets you hooked, whether it be on one specific track or the whole entire record itself. Then you have to talk about The Underground Resistance by Darkthrone, which for a long time was just standing on the shoulders of giants in order to really showcase itself as the pace runner for this year as far as Album of the Year was concerned. And I think, even though this was not a directional shift that was all of that surprising, considering we heard a little bit of that on the last Darkthrone album, this is the album where that shift really seemed to show itself and at its peak cylinder. This is where it really showed itself as, damn, that was a really fucking awesome idea. With this album, it was just the fact that it was riffs upon goddamn riffs mixed with vocals that sometimes, some people said they sound a little bit kind of over the top and sort of cheesy, but I think it actually enhances the sound a lot more. I think it really brings forth the atmosphere and brings forward the whole idea that was really behind this, and that's the fact that even right there within the book, they're recommending you all of these underground bands, kind of this whole new wave of British heavy metal, this thrash, this underground scene, that they had been fans of for a very, very long time, the crust punk idea that had been presented. There was an analogy in that video that we talked about, and so there's just a lot to talk about with that, and so that's definitely a highlight. Of course, the new Alice in Chains record, The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here, they just continue to surpass expectations. I know a lot of people miss Lane, and I know a lot of people feel that they can't listen to him because William Duvall is not Lane. However, give the guy a fucking chance. Jerry's the one that's doing most of the singing primarily anyhow, and you've probably listened to his solo records. This should be no different, mainly because his writing, along with William and the rest of AIC, surpasses his solo material. It's just absolutely phenomenal. And unlike Black Gives Way to Blue, this album was not one where they spend the entire time kind of mourning the loss of Lane and really tributing him in the form of an album. Instead, this is one where they're able to talk about a lot of other different things and really make you think a little bit. And unfortunately, or fortunately, should I say, not unfortunately, this is a great enhancement that actually brings up the score of the album. I actually like this album more than I like Black Gives Way to Blue, and it's definitely one of the front runners for the Album of the Year category, both in metal and in rock. So these guys could be a 2-for-1 special. Another one we have to talk about, it's also recent, the Black Dahlia Murder, with their new album, Ever Black. This was one that really, really took me by surprise. Not so much because of the fact that I predicted that best things were, probably yet to come after reviewing Ritual 2 years ago, but probably the fact that it came this quick and really did this well. It really knocks you on your ass the minute that the first minute that you listen to it, and just gives you this just profound feeling of, wow, they really got their shit together. Now, the cool thing about the Black Dahlia Murder is that just how it, really hit me. And there's a lot of debate about what is the really truly the best Black Dahlia Murder album, whether it's this or Unhallowed or Ritual or Miasma or Nocturnal or Deflorate, whatever it may be. I mean, they have 6 albums out now, roughly, and each person really has their own favorite. It's one of those things where there's not really a universal pick, which is really cool. It shows that the Black Dahlia Murder has been able to grow a great fan base, not to mention also they have done so much in the way of crafting their sound throughout the years that people are going to like different things. It's awesome. It's really, really cool. I enjoy that about them a great deal. And now, unfortunately, let's talk about some negatives. And the first one that has to be mentioned, I'm just going to mention it briefly, is the Attila record I just listened to, though I did not have high expectations for that whatsoever. I really didn't. Because, I've listened to Attila before, and I just thought that they were kind of okay. I was never really all that fond of them. However, this album just kind of takes it to new levels of stupidity. And, I can't get to bands that do a lot of, fancy production cutaways and infuse a little bit of that whole rap idea into it. And it's not because I dislike hip-hop. It's actually just because it doesn't feel like it has its true place, Whenever Body Count did something like this, or Stuck Mojo, it actually felt, like you were still listening to a rock album, to a metal album, not something that just was going to denigrate itself into a cluster shit of noise that just makes no fucking musical sense. So that's why I had somebody else handle that review. But of course, I didn't have someone else handle the Queensrsyche Frequency Unknown review, which was Queensrsyche with Jeff Tate, considering we have to distinguish them until a decision is rendered on the name itself. Queensrsyche with Todd Latore is fucking amazing. It's a bajillion times better. Frequency Unknown was not only an attempted insult to the other members of Queensrsyche by Douche Tate, as I now call him, but it was a slap in the face to every single goddamn fan that had supported Queensrsyche throughout the years. And, I really just, if album quality alone is the reason why the judge would rule one way or the other as to who to grant the Queensrsyche license to, all they have to do is listen to Frequency Unknown, and Jeff Tate's fucked. He's got no shot, because this album was garbage. Pure garbage. I would sooner listen to Lulu than I would listen to Frequency Unknown again. Yeah, I said that. That is how bad that this album was. So there you have it. I understand I usually do like top 5 and, blah, 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 but I'm just rambling things off the top of my head right here. And it's been a really great year for metal. There's been a fantastic slew of releases, most of which that you can view in the 2013 reviews playlist on the coverkillernation channel, and so I definitely highly recommend that you guys do that, especially if you're a new subscriber. If you're somebody brand new to the fold, first off, welcome, but get yourself well acquainted, test the waters, and whenever you view these reviews, if it's a band that perhaps you're unsure of, hey, sample some of this stuff. A lot of this stuff is very widely available, whether it be at a local store or if you'd like to try a little before you buy to know whether or not you like it. A lot of it's available either on YouTube or Spotify or various locations such as that. I'm really warm on that idea of the try before you buy, so sample the stuff, but, that shouldn't be your only means of listening to music. We've talked about this before, so I'm not getting into it. Hopefully the second half is able to really live up to expectations, because this first half has definitely made those very, very high. However, we still have a couple huge releases to talk about just within the next couple of hours. Amon Amarth and Orphan Land, and there's just a lot of other things to talk about as well. And a lot of you might be wondering why I'm not including Megadeth Super Collider in as a huge disappointment. It's more of a disappointment to me, considering of what their discography really means to me. I wouldn't call it overall a disappointment for the year. This isn't something that will probably make the top 5 worst albums list that I usually do every year. So I just wanted to make that clear. And I should also mention that Black Sabbath's 13 is fucking awesome. But I shouldn't have to mention that because it's fucking Black Sabbath. Yeah. See ya.